Welcome to my first ever campaign playthrough. We're going to be playing as Austria. Now, Austria has probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest, starting positions in the campaign. And I just want to show you why. We are stuck in the middle of the entire map. To the west, we have the French, who we are at war at. We have the Italian states, which we are at war at. We have the European protectorates of France, which we're at war at. To the north, slightly less war, but untrustworthiness in Prussia. To the east, we have the juggernaut of Russia. They don't have any enemies to their east, so they're going to push this way eventually. We are allied with them though. And then to the south, we have the Ottoman Empire. We are surrounded north, south, east and west. And we have one single trading port. This is our lifeline really. We don't have any other means of income. We're not like a major trading power like the UK, which has fleets pretty much everywhere. We're not Spain, which has a ton of trade fleets. We're not France, that has a massive empire and has lots of protectorates. And we're not Prussia or Russia, who are our allies. They are relatively safe in their own little pockets. We are in the middle. We are the ones that are going to be taking the brunt of the attack from France. And so in this campaign, I want to see how well we do. Can we hold the French hordes? Now, you may be wondering, well, of course we can. I've seen many Austrian campaigns before. Well, there's a little bit different scenario in this campaign I've set up for us. Our armies, even though they are literally turn one, I haven't touched anything. They are 20 units maxed normally in every other campaign. However, this one I've maxed them out at 100 per army. That's going to be crazy. We have some crazy battles, but also this is not regular Napoleon Total War. This is Napoleonic Total War 3. And the campaign AI has been reworked. Apparently, the Russians will not reinforce us until they get attacked. So we're on our own. Prussia up the north is not even at war with France. It's at peace. It's not even our ally. And so it won't come to help us. Our only other ally is Great Britain, who basically are going to sit on their island. Spain is allied with France. We're at war with them, in fact. Portugal is pretty non-existent. And Sweden, who are our allies, just kind of chill out up here. They don't really do much either. So we're not receiving any help from the Russians, from the Prussians, and very, very little help from the British. We don't have a navy. We don't have any trade fleet. This puts us at a significant disadvantage. In my French campaign, trade was the #1 way of gaining money. Look at this. Ivory at 46. That's all the way down here. Conveniently, right next to the Spanish ports. That means they're impossible for us to access because the Spanish would just tear us apart. So we have limited trade options here. If the Ottomans declare war on us, they'll try and take this trade node. So we're stuffed. We have no option for trade. And trade got me half of my income. It got me like 20,000 a turn in my French campaign, which was insane. And even if we did have the option for trade, we're capped out at 3 trade ships. That's the cap. And so the way that you work this is you find other trade fleets and you capture their ships. That's how I got a massive trade fleet last time. But if you can't do that because we have no standing navy, then you are pretty stuffed. Now let's take a look at the other options we have of making money. Vienna is very rich. 2,000 a turn we get. But this Court of Appeals, whilst it is increasing our tax rate, only increases it by 1%. And so we're paying 3,000 into this. The only thing that this does is increase the tax rate by 1%. We have 11,000 to start off with. So it's not worth us investing 3,000. And so our options are, yes, we can increase the tax rate by 1%, which will probably give us an extra 100 or so. Not even that per turn. So that's going to be, what, 30 turns until we see an investment return on this, which is just ridiculous. We have limited funds. There's no way we're going to be able to do that. That's a stupid idea. So we have no way to spend our money in Venice through the Court of Justice. Now we have the Great Museum. Again, it doesn't do much. It increases the region wealth by 4. Again, useless. You get unique buildings in each faction in this mod. This one here increases our tax rate by 3% for all regions. Now this is fantastic. Also allows us to recruit one of the best units we have, which is the Archduke Charles Legion. However, that's a significant investment of 5,000 gold. I'm just going to call it gold, not dollars. I have no idea what it is. And also not worth it right now because it's 18 turns away. And 18 turns away, we're going to hopefully be in a much better position. So again, not worth the return of our investment. Military buildings. Military buildings are probably our next best bet because they increase bonus to region tax rate better than the Court of Justice does, which is very odd. So 18% for the upgrade and 15% for the current one. That's an increase of 3%, which is a lot better than the 1% we would get for investing in that. However, that's again 4,500 gold in 8 turns. It's not going to be worth it. And so our building options are terrible in Venice. So we got to look to the surrounding regions. The farm here, which is a definite one to go for, it increases our province income. Secret society, all that does is spawn spies, which is fantastic. It's what we need right now. So I leave that. However, this is one of our best options, and it is the gold mine. 20 plus per turn in town wealth, up from 10. Everywhere else we're spending like a 3%, 1%, 10 gold upgrade. This is a fantastic upgrade. However, it's locked behind technology. It's locked away under steam engine, which isn't even accessible for us now. But this would be one to go for. And so we've got to find a factory. Now that's a good investment because it allows us in 4 turns to start researching that technology. So that's a good investment there. So mines are going to be our biggest source of investment. Factories as well are going to be good. So let's look at the tactical situation we're in. It's good to be aware of your history when you're playing as Austria because there are some hidden caveats which you may not notice. Your most forward-facing army at the start of the game is led by someone called Karl Mack. Now Karl Mack in history was the guy that threw away Austria's chance of really battering Napoleon because he basically led his army into this general region. I can't remember where it was exactly. And way ahead of the Russian army, which Russians were still up here. And he led his army into this area and basically got himself cut off from the rest of the Austrian force with about 60,000 men, which is a lot of men. 60,000 of Austria's best troops. And Napoleon swung in with all his different corps at lightning speed and basically surrounded 60,000 men. And I think he surrendered his whole army to the French. And so Austria is basically completely cut off from victory at that point. They have to rely, they start pulling back and start to have to rely on the Russians rather than being aggressive. And the coalition falls apart basically before it starts because of the incompetence of this man here. And you may be wondering, why am I talking about this? It's because if you right click on him, yes, he is an excellent star general with, I think that's a 6-star general. And if you look at his traits, flawed general, -2 command, so he's actually a 4-star general. -2 management means his army is more expensive. And -1 morale in battle. That is insanely important. Okay, let me tell you why. Morale governs how troops fight. So we do not want General Mack leading anything. We want to replace him as soon as possible, and we'll do that in a minute. Our victory conditions, the long campaign, are to secure France and Italy, and that's what we're going to do. We're not going to do a full world domination campaign because it's very easy to do that and you kind of lose in the late game any sort of tension or drive. So we're going to try and conquer the French and the Italian states and re-establish the Holy Roman Empire, which has been battered by Austrian mistakes. I suppose we should actually start doing something rather than just me talking about the Austrians. Now you'll see here, you're kind of at a standoff with I'm not sure who this is, Massena, I think. Austrian army, let's have a look at this. When you're playing as Austria, it's a lot different from the French. French have everything. They have heavy cavalry, which is fantastic, cuirassiers, dragoons. They have excellent light infantry. Every battalion in the French army had a light infantry company. They were very light infantry heavy. They had excellent line infantry, excellent guard infantry, in fact the best guard infantry. They had excellent generals. And their artillery was truly excellent, as Napoleon was actually an artillery general, so he made sure that they were particularly well taken care of in that regard. So in saying that, how are we supposed to go against up a faction that has everything? Because we're definitely not as strong as that. What are the Austrians good at? They excel in light infantry. The Austria is a very light infantry heavy faction. Their line infantry are good, on par with the French line infantry, if not somewhat better in some regards, and Austrian grenadiers are exceptionally good. However, Austrian cavalry lack. It's somewhat comparable to the French, but I would put it as a tier below, just because of the cuirassiers and the Imperial Guard cavalry the French can field are exceptionally good. Our artillery, as you can see, a 3-pounder there, 6-pounders, one 12-pounder we have. So we have a very small amount of artillery, which isn't particularly good. Austria excels at light infantry, and especially these guys here, Jaegers. Now, Jaegers were basically the cream of the crop, recruited distinctly from the mountains. They were not allowed to be recruited from the cities. These guys were expert hunters. These guys did like your special forces, come in very small numbers though, so they were never able to utilize them especially well. But these guys are outmatched French light infantry. The reason they outmatch it, and it's important when you start campaigns to check out your units, is because they have this 100 range. What that means is that our Jaegers here can shoot further than the French, which means we can do things like sniping units from afar. We can do things like eliminating generals. These are sort of our specialized units, and they can also hide in basically anything that isn't open grassland. Now, these units are independent of an army if you want them to be. And basically, they can hide anywhere on the campaign map unless you're really close. They scare horses as well. Good stamina, especially important. Resistant to cold and heat. This is just an incredibly good unit if they aren't found. This can't be the unit that we first used to engage the French. This is the unit we skirt around the sides and we start taking out their cavalry and start taking out their infantry and officers and generals from afar. So that's something we have over the French we can utilize, but it takes a lot of micro and understanding of unit statistics to actually be able to understand that this isn't just a generic infantry unit, it's something special. However, we do not have any of them currently recruited, so that's not helpful for us, is it at all? So we're going to get as many of these as we physically can, which is I think 6. So this is our biggest, strongest army here. We are going to combine it, however, with this army further back here to give us a bit more oomph, a bit more power projection. We can start building up that force relatively quickly from the amount of options that we have, and also the fact that it doesn't take us too long to recruit anything. We also have access to 12-pounders and horse artillery and howitzers, so we have to spend our money wisely. And talking of money, let's have a look at how much we get every turn. Amiga 2000, also our monarch isn't exactly amazing. 5 -5 to diplomatics and -1 prestige. I wish we could get rid of him, but I don't think we can we? No. We have got a few trade options, but we're going to need more to survive. So let's have a look what we can find. Friendly with Prussia, which is great for us. We need to start trading with these guys. So let's see if we can get any bit of money out of them. Yep, we can. Awesome. We are relatively at peace with most, if not all, of the nations that we need to be in the major category. The minor category, we have a lot of options here. We're mostly at war with people to our west and not to the east. So Portugal, probably our most valuable trading partner, because they're right next to all of these interesting trade nodes down here, and we can actually import a lot of that stuff from them. So let's request a trade agreement with them, ask for some money. Let's see what they say. And they're offering 750, which is fantastic. I suppose we should actually do something in the campaign now. First things first, we need to put a buffer state between us and the French. Now, these two factions here turn French next turn in this mod, and that allows the French to attack us rather than sit in the center here. So we're going to send General Mack into Bavaria, basically get all of our units here and start stacking them, as many as we can really, before we engage. They won't surrender, so let's auto-resolve this. Let's take these guys out. Yeah, we lost roughly what I was expecting us to lose, which is great. Nothing too crazy. We have an option. Capture, and we can loot it. Now, 17,000 sounds like a lot of money, and it is. But remember, a lot of these buildings in here we're going to have to repair. And we want to try and hang on to as much money as possible. So think of this 17,000 as about 10,000 after we've repaired like four buildings. That's what I'm counting on anyway. And so instead we're going to peacefully occupy, because you can look at this region wealth. It's particularly high. 1,000 is quite high for a starting city. So let's peacefully occupy this turn. Bavaria out the way. At the moment we're going to upgrade basically all of our roads as well. It's essential that you do this. Increases your movement speed, which is why it's so important. Anyway, we need to take General Mack away because he's negatively affecting everything. We're going to pop this army in a town here, relatively safe at the moment. We'll reinforce him with the garrison troops from Prague, Bohemia. Prague is happy, which is good. Looting settlements is a good idea later on, but we really need to make sure we're stable at the moment. And we can't afford to leave a standing army in Munich when the French start moving around over here. We have to make tactical decisions. We don't want to have a rebellion in our back ranks. Down south in Italy, we have another problem. Messina, I think, is over here. So we're going to take this army across the river here, reinforce it with this army here, and attack the French, and they do stand, which is good. Taking out Messina this early on, a 5-star general, particularly good in every regard, is going to be an insanely good move, because he won't be able to raise this huge army down south with us. With Messina gone, that's one of Napoleon's finest generals out of the way, and also a significant portion of good units, cuirassier, artillery, grenadiers, and an elite line infantry unit. So let's make sure we crush Messina. Let's get to it. So you'll notice, even though that Messina has a relatively small amount of troops compared to us, that the game still gives him an incredibly high chance of winning, considering his predicament. And that just shows how much faith the game has in French troops. Our artillery here are 3-pounder guns, and they aren't even in range there. So we're going to have to move them up. I don't think Messina is going to be particularly aggressive. I reckon he's going to have his artillery deployed. Yeah, he does. So he has 6-pounder guns, which should be in range of us. And we have 2 units of cavalry. Both are lights. Now, you remember the French have cuirassiers. This is not a matchup for cuirassiers. In fact, so we're going to move our grenadiers over there just to give us a little bit more protection. We are a little exposed. If one thing goes wrong for us, the balance of power is going to shift quite a lot. So if we lose our cavalry, if the French cavalry manage to rout our artillery, if our light infantry start losing, one thing goes wrong and this balance of power starts tipping in Messina's favour. But I think we're going to be fine. We can group our units, which is great. Last campaign I couldn't do that because I had so many, but at the moment we have enough that we can group. Although I'm still not getting any unit positioning when I push my space bar down. So if anyone has a fix for that, I'd appreciate it, because I currently can't see where I'm actually going. That's a little bit annoying, but there we go. Messina's a good general as well, so his troops will not break immediately. We're going to try and occupy the edge of this tree line. Staying in the trees is important, and the reason I say that is because it protects us from artillery, but also protects us from a charge of this cavalry as well, somewhat. All these audio cues are really important when you're fighting a battle, especially on a large scale. I'm not sure the French really know what to do here. You can see that this has caused the French cavalry to charge us, which is not ideal for us at the moment. We're going to put our one of our units in box. Probably our second unit in box as well. We can kind of move our grenadiers up a little bit and allow our artillery to deploy now. See if we can hammer their artillery from here. Okay, we've finally driven the French cavalry off. They will be back though. Okay, we want to pull back here. The reason I'm pulling back is we do not want to get into melee with with French grenadiers. If we got into melee with them, we would be in serious trouble. Okay, this is not what we want to see. Having 3-pounder guns is, at the moment, proving to be more of a liability than actual usefulness. Okay, that was a massive volley into the French there. And the reason they routed at 148 men was because we waited until the last minute to unleash a devastating volley from this infantry unit here. And there's something called morale shock. If a unit uses too many men at one time, even if they're grenadiers, elite units like this, they will break. I don't want Massena to get away. Alright, he's gone. He's routed, but can we get him? There he is. He's gone. That's fantastic news for us. And even though these guys are numerically outmatched, you can see that they are really putting up a fight and putting down the hurt on our guys. And there they are. They've finally gone. So let's send in the cavalry to finish them off. Pull back our infantry to avoid friendly fire. Oh. The invincible horse, eh? I'll see you back on the campaign map. Massena's retreats over there. We're going to push on Milan. They have relatively small numbers of troops, although their garrison units may be kind of big, so we may have to pull back again or hold this bridge, depending on what they decide to do. More importantly, we've succeeded in taking 2 fights successfully. We've taken Bavaria, Munich, and we've taken out Massena. Both incredibly important targets if we're going to succeed. Let's pop some units up here to help reinforce. And we need to decide what else we're going to recruit in Vienna here. We desperately need artillery. Desperately. But also we desperately need infantry. And we need lots of infantry. So German regiments, yeah. Let's just get those good, well-trained units. And we've got some Jaegers coming up as well. Hopefully that will give us an edge over the French. I'm actually going to recruit 2 less Jaegers and put 2 more German infantry units in there. We also need to probably spend most of our money on the university as well, just so we can start researching tech and spawning gentlemen faster and quicker, so we can get some of those better technologies. So we're really gambling on the fact that the Ottomans don't attack us turn 1. If that happens, we are in a little bit of trouble. So let's see what we can do.